I should get a theme tune to play during this time, shouldn't I?
Goodies, goody, goody, yum, yum.
Anyway, good afternoon, folks. I did say there would be a Davy shop today. And this is it. Now, there's a couple of things that have been growing today. One of them is Keir Starmer electioneering, and another one is Steve Barclay electioneering, but in a different manner. Starmer, I'm not going to cover the bollocks he spoke about today. I'll maybe do that in another shot. But what I'm here today to talk about has a lot to do with our food security. Okay, today, the 4th of January, Minister for Rural Affairs down that road, in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, is introducing a new agricultural bill. And it's supposed to be the biggest shake-up. I'll put it up. You know me, I like to go to source. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is straight to the government. Okay, the Westminster government. Aye, Happy New Year, folks. Now, as I say, this is quite important, and this came after a speech that he gave yesterday to farmers in Oxford. We'll get to that in a wee minute, but we'll put this up. We'll bring it in. Biggest upgrade to UK farming scheme introduced by government since leaving EU. Now, this is all to do with sustainable farming and the amount of money they get, like they used to get through the Common Agricultural Policy. And basically, when I talk about electioneering here, the Tories are trying to shore up the rural vote, where they've always been traditionally strong. So there's a giveaway of 45 million, and it's basically to be shared right across the farming sector, to be fair, with the Common Agricultural Policy. The biggest 10% of farms took almost 50% of the UK grant, whereas this is going to be better distributed. And it's all to do with husbandry of the landscape. Now, there's a couple of things wrong with what it actually says, and I'll read a bit of it to you. The Environment Secretary announces major updates for farmers with an increase in funding and reduction in red tape this summer. Okay, so it's basically electioneering. Anyway, the biggest upgrade to UK farming scheme since leaving the European Union has been set out by the Secretary of State, Steve Barclay, at Oxford Farming Conference today. And the updates include funding uplifts, streamlined application processes, enhanced environmental incentives, and support for the rollout of new technologies. And these will provide further support for British farmers. But that's not true. That isn't true. Because agriculture's devolved to Scotland and Wales. So the document's misleading for a start. Anyway, under the agricultural transition, new farming schemes are paying farmers to take action to boost sustainable food production while delivering positive outcomes for the environment. All right, they also want the yields up. But while wanting the yields up, the improvements will include a 10% increase in the average value of agreements and the Sustainable Farming Initiative or Incentive, a streamlined single application process, around 50 new actions that farmers can get paid for across the time, and enhanced funding per hectare, depending on what sort of sustainable use you put it to, whether it's a sustainable grasslands, protecting wetlands, or whether it's providing environment, say, for endangered species of a animal. All very wonderful stuff. But as I say, it's a giveaway. But in this speech, and this is a bit that should interest us and scare farmers, I'll put this down. In this speech, the interesting bit for us and farmers was he announced new labelling schemes for UK farmers to protect them from less well-produced produce coming to the UK market. Now, this new labelling will not affect goods for the EU, apparently, because EU already makes their standards. But this is the kicker, folks. At the end of this month, checks on foods going in both directions, in and out of the EU, are going to start. And that means less coming for the EU. It'll be held up for days. We don't have a staff. It'll be on by the time it gets here. And as we already know, substandard foods is coming in for unscrupulous players in the EU. Okay. But what he was really telling farmers was, here in the UK, you'll get pride of labelling, but we're going to flood the market with stuff elsewhere in the world, because they know that they're only going to be able to get it in for the EU. So we're talking about frozen goods coming in from New Zealand, Australia, and anywhere in the Pacific, really, and America, and the Americas. And he's telling us in advance that these are substandard goods, or they're no grown, or husbanded to a very high standard. He was basically telling us they're going to hit the markets, and people are poor in the cost of living crisis, so UK farmers are going to lose out. His reassurance to UK farmers: have a couple more quid per hectare if you leave it fallow for wildlife, and we'll give you special labels. The other thing that was hidden behind it was, he was telling retailers and frozen food retail operators, don't be slapping Union Jacks on things, because there's no way you can guarantee that's what's in the packet. Or the other way around was, the other way to read it was, don't be slapping Union Jack on things unless you could 100% guarantee that's what's in the packet. That some of the ingredients didn't come from elsewhere. So there's going to be a crackdown on labelling, apparently. But the real kick behind this, and the real reason for this speech, was tidbits for the farmers, because there's an election coming up, and to warn the farmers and us that the market is about to be flooded by substandard food goods to the Americas and elsewhere in the Pacific Rim. So that's it, it's official. Bill announced today they're going to allow substandard or less well produced goods into the food market. And as I say, it's all about the introduction of the checks that are supposed to happen at the end of this month. Phil McCracken was saying Brexit was a bad idea. Of course I'm saying Brexit's a bad idea. But I just wanted to warn you, to tell you. Now what he was saying, there'll be clearer labelling. No, there won't. There'll be unscrupulous packaging companies here in the UK. Believe me. So the speech is a warning to us all what's coming. And it's also a warning to the UK farmers that there's a challenge coming for you to your markets. So that was the point of the Davies short today. Starmer and the nonsense that he was speaking. I maybe cover that in another day, and I might leave it to Monday when David and I are back. But one of the most interesting parts of what he was saying was about 45 million electorate, and they can't all get what they want. That was actually targeted right at the provinces, if you like. That was telling the people of Scotland, the people of Wales and the people of Northern Ireland, hey, we only recognise the duopoly in Westminster. So he was telling us that not everybody, the 45 million people of voting age in the UK, can get what they want. But what Starmer and his arrogance didn't realise that each of the nations of the UK are voting on different things. As I say, we'll cover some of the rest of the nonsense he was speaking. On another shot, this one was just to give you the heads up. It's official. You can look at the government website, as I've just put up the announcement of the new agricultural policy, and within it, food standards. There you go. You have been warned. Read the labels before you buy, especially after the end of this month. That's a presenting on the bloody shelves. That's the Davy Shock for the day. Hope you found it interesting. Hope you found it informative. I will probably stick a link to the government press release today onto my Facebook timeline, and I'll add it into the video on YouTube, because I can get an edit and add the link there. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll stick it in the comments here and all, I think. This will be a link to the UK government's press release today. Okay, you can read it for yourselves. As I say, there's more to it than that. And it was paste. There we go. There's the link. See, it was tidbits for farmers and a heads up of what's to come. As you know, I've been following food security for years. So there you go, guys. Be very careful what you're buying. If you're here in Scotland, buy Scotland the brand before they wipe it out. And if you're interested in Protect Scotland the brand, then look up Ruth Watson Protect Scotland the brand on Google or whatever search engine it is you're using, and you'll find them. Right, that's it. Links in the comments, and as I say, I'll put it on the YouTube channel, and I'll put it into Facebook.